The end of 2024 saw the Trackmania Formula E Championships return to action with the opening round in Sao Paulo, as well as Quick's return to winning ways, as if the offseason rust was all but a myth. For round 2 of this season, and the first race of 2025, the championship's protagonists returned to a familiar venue, namely the Tempelhof temporary street circuit for the Berlin E-Prix. Qualifying will start in 10 minutes with the race following shortly thereafter, and we will, as per usual, be here to bring you all of the on-track action live. Hello everybody, I'm Thomas Mengozzi, aka G-Geek, and alongside me in the booth as ever is the one and only Kyle Ludwig, aka Luckers Turbo. And before we get into the thick of things, let me take a few seconds of my time to wish you all a happy new year. And I think you'll be able to join in with me on this as well, Turbo. May 2025 go well for you and bring you many good things and treat you kindly on all fronts. And for us, it is fair to say that we've been pretty well treated with a very fantastic race coming up in a warm and fuzzy looking Tempelhof, which is a nice change of pace compared to the weather conditions that we have in real life. That's all I'll say.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I went for a run today and it is grim outside. You know, it's getting dark a little bit later from day to day, but it's so cold outside.
Negative temperatures,
Yeah, negative temperatures, but I'm really looking forward to this because Berlin Tempelhof, we have already seen this map being played 3 times during the first season, and there we had Quick winning it twice. And of course, maybe to give you guys a little bit of a backlash of what happened on December 4th in Sao Paulo, it was Quick also winning the race ahead of Patrose and then Wizzy getting that 3rd position.
Yeah, indeed. Quick basically giving us the impression that, yeah, as I said, off-season rust not really being such a thing, and that it felt like it was basically just yesterday that the last race of the inaugural season happened, and he was very much on the return to winning ways. And I think the key to that was that he was thinking a little bit different in terms of like strategy, especially when it comes to attack mode activations. We've seen plenty of drivers actually going for back-to-back attack mode activations very early on, if not from lap 2, in the very first like 5 or 6 laps of the race, and then try to get those out of the way as quickly as possible, whereas Quick decided to wait to the second half of the race before attacking the going to the attack mode, and actually spaced out his activations a little bit more, allowing him to extract the most out of it, along with great energy consumption. Now, we said Patrose second, but that doesn't tell the full story, because the battle between Patrose and Wizzy kind of unfolded in the latter third of the race, and Patrose drove a oddly conservative race, let's say that. He did not really push it that whatsoever. Most people tend to finish with like 0.5, 0.4%, and sometimes even no battery in the tank. He finished with close to 12% state of charge. That kind of put him out of contention for a race win due to his overly conservative driving style. But when Wizzy ran out of juice 2 corners before the end, he seized the opportunity to move up to second and demote Wizzy down to third, which I think is pretty commendable. But I hope he can have his energy consumption dialed in just a little bit better for Berlin, which should be a bit more easy to actually work out, because this is a returning track and he's already raced on this track twice previously, not 3 times, as one of the instances where he wanted to run, he had been impacted by technical difficulties.
No, true. Yeah, he did. I remember he had a disconnect on this map.
Exactly.
I remember that. Yeah, true. I think we were even spotting this one live on camera. I
we spotted that one live. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, 12% state of charge left here for
That's
Patrose
a lot.
at the end. That's a lot. That's 5 laps, if not even more. And I think if Patrose can push it a bit more, he's able to keep up with Quick. But it just seems like Quick is just driving perfect. He drives perfect. Of course, there was one race where what we have seen, it was, I think, race number 2 it was, I think, where Granadi was able to win due to the weather conditions being a bit in his favor, let's say like that, because we had a little bit of a rainy race happening there on the Berlin Tempelhof circuits.
Yeah, indeed, and I wonder if we're going to be seeing Berlin being a little bit of a host for some weather changes. Who knows? But so far, Quick, come rain or shine, he just seems to be on a roll every single time, and I think that will be showing in the championship standings, as you'll be able to see here. Quick leading the charge with 100 points, the full fat 100 points that come with the race victory. Of course, the standings will mirror the standings of round 1 in Sao Paulo, so Quick in the lead of the standings, Patrose in 2nd place, Wizzy in P3, Granadi finishing a creditable 4th, the original wheelman from Germany. Bosal completes the top 5 and heads a trio of French drivers, Tona and Heave in 6th and 7th, who are having a really nice battle against each other in the last few corners of the lap, which ended with a late lunge in the final corner from Heave, which did not pan out as he went all over the exit and hit the outside wall, so he finished in P7. Stofs, the Dutch driver from Wild, is currently sitting in P8, Pussy Tofako in P9, and New Prime, courtesy of a snipe at the finish thanks to Link running out of battery, managed just to get himself into the top 10. So those are the standings after round 1, and now we shall take a look at what the calendar looks like. So 1 round down, 5 to go, starting with the Berlin Tempelhof track with the Berlin E-Prix today. Then we will be heading to another brand new track in the city of Diriyah in Saudi Arabia on February the 12th. Then we'll be following on by Miami on April the 9th. And then the Super Week will be seeing us conclude the season with London and Tokyo back-to-back, May 14th and 15th. 2 returning tracks and finishing under the lights at Tokyo. We've seen how scenic this track could be in the very opening rounds of the last season, which was in 2024. And I think finishing in the night is going to be such a barn burner.
Yeah, I think so as well. This is very fitting. Of course, I would love to see the likes of Scrappy returning, winning the first race in Tokyo. If you remember that, it was a complete carnage. Like, hardly anyone knew how to play that format, but that was great. But maybe also let's talk a little bit about what is up for grabs here for the players, because not only is 1,000 euros on the line per race, but also there is a prize pool split for the top 5 in the championship. So if you accumulate the most amount of points and make it into the top 5 after the 6 races, first position wins 1,800 euros, second 1,000, then third position goes home with 650, then 350 for fourth, and fifth position takes home 200 euro. And for a race, there's 600, 300, and 100 euro on the line for first, second, and third. But first, you have to qualify to Division 1. So we will be spectating selected players on a designated server, and there will be plenty of other servers that are happening at the same time, and where players have 15 minutes, if I recall correctly, 15 or 20. 15 to qualify to Division 1, and the top 50 will make it into Division 1. What counts there is the fastest lap.
Yeah, exactly.
Without attack modes.
Fastest lap without attack mode. Attack mode, as a matter of fact, is completely disabled during the qualifying session. And yeah, it serves as both a combined practice and qualifying session, which means that for some of the people that actually drive this track for the very first time, they're going to have to use this time effectively, not only to try and qualify as far up the pecking order as possible, but also trying to figure out their energy consumption. Now, for those that are returning to Berlin after having competed on it in Season 1, I think most of the variables are pretty much figured out, because I think we will also be heading towards the same race length that we had last season, which was around 45 laps. Yeah, we got a lot more laps compared to what we... Well, actually, it's not that far off compared to what we had in Sao Paulo, because it was a bit of a high-speed track itself, but in a bit of a different way. In Berlin, it's a tad bit faster than Sao Paulo, but a very different flavor. There is not so much thing as stop-and-go corners, like chicanes, like we've seen in Sao Paulo. Here, it's a lot more of corners strung together with very much only 2 or 3 hairpins that do require a little bit more attention on the braking point that you actually need to take in order to navigate the corner safely. But for me, the highlight of Berlin is the final sector, that run through turns 10 through to turn 15 and through to the start-finish straight. This is where you can actually gain a lot of time, but also if you mess up the alignment just a teensy tiny bit and head the outside wall, this is where you're going to be losing a ton of speed, and that will be compounded all the way until turn number 2, which is where the attack mode is located as well.
Yeah, there's so many things that can go wrong in this ending sector, that is for sure, because that is your bread and butter. But of course, we have this 180 turn combination just in the middle of the map, where we have a right-hander, where you have to accumulate a lot of speed, and then a left-hand drift, which also is very decisive to just get you so much speed around that. I think you were talking about the corner after that. I think, yes,
the corner after the very tight hairpin. Yeah, the setup for the hairpin is also kind of tricky. You kind of have to, you do have a little bit of a runoff area, quote unquote. It's not exactly runoff, but you do have a little bit of a gap in the wall with the cones kind of like acting as a visual reference to try and actually set yourself up for that. This is a very tricky corner to set up when you don't really have a feel for it, but once you get a kind of like a feel for how the car reacts in terms of like setting up the car for that particular corner, you can get some pretty gnarly angles of attack, trying to get as close to the apex as possible whilst also trying not to go too aggressive with the attack, because if you try to go too aggressive in the attack, you just end up sideways and you just bog down when your car finally comes to a stop, and thus you have to go all the way back through the gears. And with the acceleration of the stadium car, or the Trackmania car as it were, it's not as quick as four-wheel drive on a Gen 3 Evo, let's say that. So it does take a little bit of time to get back up and running, but it's yeah, it's very much a case of trying to be smooth through the corner rather than try to go full on angle like we've seen. It brings me back to a clip from last season, from season 10. That was Misano qualifying with Dan Ticktum, taking a little bit of sausage curb on the way out of one of the corners and landing sideways, landing into a drift, trying to do what we call an auto drift in Trackmania, because we do have some tracks which use those kind of like elevation changes features where we just use that to our advantage to pitch the car into a slide to help us zip through the corner. In real life, it doesn't really work, let's say that.
Yeah, it's a bit different in-game, let's say like that. But what I do remember is in this last sector is, I think it was maybe even Patrose, but just going very aggressively over the cone and then losing control, because you have to be very careful with just clipping or just hitting them at all. So it's sometimes a bit advantageous to take it a bit more conservative. But also, there's a player that I really want to focus on today, and that is Massa. You know, how much effort did the Berlin International Gaming player put into this map? Did he pre-practice? Did other players pre-practice this map? Is it enough for Quick? Because Quick has shown an absolute masterclass last season on this, yeah, I would say replica, because there is hardly any changes on this map, if even, right? So it could be enough for Quick, but you know, as learning for an exam, if you put more effort into it, maybe the others are able to beat you. So can Quick defend his title here in this way, you know, winning race number 1, but also winning 2 races in the first season on Berlin Tempelhof?
Yeah, also going back to back in terms of like race victories in this particular season, and going for a 3-win streak if you combine the 2 seasons together, because he's also won the final round of the season, of course, in London last time out, which was the round which saw him crowned as the inaugural Trackmania Formula E champion. So it will be interesting to see if he can keep on that streak and try to add a 3rd race win in a row in Trackmania Formula E, as the qualifying session is about to begin in a few seconds time. First of all, thank you very much for joining us here on the Trackmania Formula E Championship broadcast. Be it no matter where you are tuning in the world, we hope that you will be able to enjoy the racing, and as much as we enjoy bringing it to you live, as the qualifying session will be starting in a few seconds time with some of the championship protagonists such as Fick, as we mentioned, but also Massa, also on the server. I did see him do a little bit of practice runs in the training room, actually, which is available in the Trackmania Formula E Club, and he also streamed a little bit as well. So it will be interesting to see how the Berlin International Gaming player, which we sometimes refer to as Mr. 305 or like Kupraman. I don't remember exactly some of the surnames that he went by. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wonder how he's going to be faring, because he's not really that. I think he's participated in TMFE before. I'm not exactly sure if he was.
I'm also not sure, actually.
I'm not exactly too sure.
I think he did. Maybe he did not even. Like, we probably have to dive a bit deeper. But
that's going to be a pretty deep.
Did he even play Did he even play TMFL?
I think he did play TMFL at some point, indeed.
Yeah, but maybe just a bit more casual, I think. And then I think he dropped into Division 2, and then he couldn't bother anymore. He didn't bother anymore. Something like that. But, you know, Massa back then, I think a little bit of a backstory to him. Comes from a tech background. Trackmania Grand League beta season, he got subbed in for Dexter, and he really struggled to find consistency in mixed, but also in tech style, because he was an extremely risky player. But he's now very experienced, of course, played the World Cup as well, did really good there, qualified in a very, very good manner. And I think he could deal some damage here. I mean, also track of the day didn't look too bad for him today. So let's see how this goes. But right now, he's not leading. It is Paul, Granadi, and Wizzy currently fighting it out here, going into the second lap. Look at that. Hand in hand they go. Paul currently leading, overtaking Granadi with a bit more speed. But what time will it be? What is going to happen? It is Granadi with a mistake.
Yeah, unfortunately for Granadi, just a little bit too wide at the exit of turn 10. Thus clobbering the wall on the exit, and Paul looking to improve his pole position mark of a 37.402, dropping it down to a .348. Paul, one of the guys that was the animators of the inaugural race of the season in Sao Paulo, but unfortunately who did not exactly have his energy consumption quite up to scratch, ended up using way more than some of the other contenders, but in particularly Wizzy, which he was in a direct fight against towards the middle of the race, and at that point he was already like 5, 6, or even 7% down compared to the player behind him. So Paul not really exactly playing much of a factor in the final standings, but now maybe with a different track he could actually spring a surprise or two, as we're going to be seeing him complete that lap with a great line indeed through turns 14 and 15, but ultimately with a little bit of a lift through that third sector, that is not going to be allowing him to improve his mark, a mark that will be beaten by just a few hundredths of a second, maybe just a few thousandths, 8 milliseconds ahead, with a .340 versus a .348.
Yeah, it is Granadi who currently leads, and Granadi won the seeding today for the Cup of the Day, which was a speed tech map, but only came in P number, what is that? P57 in the Cup. Oh. So he did not do too good there. Massa got 20th, and then it was Super Kaluf, the 2006 champion, winning it. So let's see if he will be returning as well to the circuit as well. Currently, I do not see him on the server, but Granadi 8,000s ahead of Paul, and then Massa, who we talked about beforehand as well, only 500s behind his teammate, but crashes into a wall, will not play a role in this lap, and will also not have any speed, so you can see how lethal a crash is on this map. You lose a couple of seconds, have to re-accelerate, and just keep your momentum, because the turn will feel a bit different if you have like not similar speeds compared to a clean run. It is a very, very common thing that you just do another mistake after a mistake.
Yeah, in this track, especially with how much speed you carry through some of these corners, and through most of the corners essentially, because it is very much a flat-out track, this Berlin Tempelhof circuit. If you make a single, even just as much as a wall brush, like just a few pixels of a wall worth of a wall brush, it can tank your lap time down, and it can take your momentum down so hard, especially if you did on Sector 3. This is probably the worst spot to get like a wall brush, because from there to turn 2, as we've explained a little bit earlier, it is flat out all the way. You cannot afford to let any kind of speed, because every single kilometer per hour counts on the run down towards the start-finish straight, as Fick completes the lap and gets a new personal best with a .380 within 40 milliseconds of Granadi's pole time. Mosal actually splitting the difference between Granadi and Paul, but by just 6 milliseconds, just 2 milliseconds ahead of Paul. And whilst we are currently on the perspective of Fick, let's actually get a little bit of a gander at what the track looks like from different camera angles. So this is a bit of a bird's eye view of the track. It's a bit obscured, don't get me wrong, but you can see the some of the technical sections, and especially that's turn 10 to 13, 14, 15 section that we've been alluding to so much. Here is the location of the attack mode, right at the braking zone of turn number 2 attack mode, which will be of course made available on lap 2 onwards, and then a couple of the other turns that we've seen, such as the turn 6 and 7, the double right-hander. It's not exactly that much of a hairpin, it's more 2 back-to-back 90-degree right-handers that you kind of approach as a open hairpin. So it's a bit of a weird approach at first when you explain it like that, but the aim is just to try. It's a bit unusual, but the aim, most importantly, is to go for the apex of the second right-hander. This is mostly what you're trying to go for, trying to go over the blue and white curb to try and maximize speed. Then we go turn 8, turn 9. This is very much the pain point that we've been talking about, trying to get a good exit from that, because it also conditions the run through to Sector 3. Pickup going a little bit close to the wall on the outside there. But yeah, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen that there is a little bit of a gap in the wall there, which is where you would park a car that has to be retired in real life. But here you can actually make use of all that runoff and then some to try and set your car up for the corners. You can see Patroza doing and Kvik doing to try and hook the apex as late as possible to slingshot your way through the corner. And I thought this was very interesting to actually be able to witness that. Also, we do have a couple of custom cameras. We are now on board with the man himself, the championship leader, Kvik. You can see his head bobbing about here and there. Currently not exactly on an improvement. It's on a 38.173. Now, the current fastest lap time courtesy of Kvik is a .138 that he's done a couple laps ago. A very big crash on the exit of turn 2 from the Norwegian. It seems like this lap is definitely going from bad to worse. Let's try to focus on another driver with Granadi, the wheelman himself. How appropriate to go on board with the wheelman. That was an attack and a half on turn 6 and 7 right there from the man from Berlin International Gaming. And also, I guess we can also take a little bit of a look at what happens on from the rear perspective. He's got Heave following him as well as Quick and Paul. Actually, it's Paul right behind Heave trying to get a fast lap in. Currently, Heave, where is he currently sitting? He's currently sitting in P8 with around 3 to 4 tenths to make up before getting back to the leader. So he's hovering around a middle to high 37.5. And you can see Paul now on the attack trying to go for a fast lap. So let's go for the perspective of the Portuguese here. Okay, that might be getting away without any suspension damage, but watch out, that might be a little bit of a yellow car moment, and that is not a crash. That was just a miscalculation on the approach to the braking zone. There was a slight bit of a wall brush on the P6 on the turn 6 and 7, but yet that was an unfortunate lift of the wheels from turn 13 from Paul. So he's gonna have to regroup and go for another shot.
Yeah, he has to go for another shot, but you can really see how much risk the players have to take on this map. They push so much in those kind of blind turns because, of course, the turn is being obscured by the scenery or just the setting of the map with the fences on the outside to just protect the spectators around, right? That's a good thing, but of course that makes the track very blind, and even if you know what turn comes across, it's sometimes very hard to predict, and that one turn that we've seen from Granadi just looked absolutely close. But let's take a look onto the players who are on the server. So we have 15 players on this selected server. Marius right now on last position, and we have Simon Luck on 14th, Berserker Games, and then Wall, and we're gonna go into a lap from him because he is going to improve by the looks of it, or is he? I think he did not. I do not see the times.
I do not think that was an improvement either. I don't think he jumped up the leaderboard. So I guess we're going to be following him along with a full lap courtesy of the Frenchman from Team Eclipse. Very customary player when it comes to Trackmania Formula E and Formula Style races in general in Trackmania. Of course, a contender in TMFL that we very often saw in Division 1, as a matter of fact. And so far, currently looking to get a bit of an improvement on his time, trying to get within the half a second range compared to Pole time. A very big lift on the entry to turn 13. That's going to be costing him some time, costing him dearly. Also, that touch in turn number 15, trying to turn it a little bit too early, a little bit too eager to get close to the inside wall of the start-finish straight, and that is going to be costing him dearly. Now, before we go with a few more players with 5 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, let's talk a little bit about Berlin Tempelhof. As a matter of fact, Berlin in Formula E. This season is rounds 13 and 14 of the championship, which will be happening in the spring. The German round has been present since day 1 of the FIA Formula E Championship. It's been present at Tempelhof pretty much in every single location, except once in Season 2, where it was around Karl Marx Allee, if I'm not mistaken, that the circuit was taking place. Then, of course, the Berlin E-Prix is the home round for Porsche, which is, of course, fielding a works team, the Porsche Tag Formula E team, as well as supplying powertrains for Andretti and for Cupra Kiro, one of the newer teams on the circuit, on the championship in Formula E. And also, Berlin is one of only 3 venues to have hosted races of all generations of Formula E car. And by all generations, I mean Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, and all of their evolutions. The other 2 venues are Monaco, with the Monaco E-Prix, of course, and Mexico City, who has been hosting since Season 2, actually, Formula E, and have witnessed pretty much every single generation of race car as well.
That is very impressive to see that there is a legacy here on Berlin Tempelhof, and it's going to continue in this season as well, of course. I mean, it has been one of the most seen tracks, if not even seen the most track in Trackmania as well, with that, the 4th entrance for this map as well. So you can see how prestigious this E-Prix really is. So looking forward to this race today as well, and thanks for this insight here as well. Would also be cool to see Monaco and Mexico City, of course, but maybe that's something for the next season, right?
Oh, come on. Monte Carlo circuit in Trackmania, that would be the dream. That would
be great. That would be a dream. Like, Monaco was always my favorite racetrack, like back in...
Monaco is an iconic venue, and this is one of those where when you hear a corner name, you're like, okay, I know where that is. Instantly recognizable corner names and stuff like that. This would be the dream to have it in Trackmania. Who knows? Maybe in the future.
Who knows? Maybe in the future, I hope so. But it's just great to see 6 different E-Prix happening throughout, and not like having duplicates in this way. But
yeah, exactly.
It's a different format. I think both of them are great. Of course, more races, more fun. But here we have just one race, and it just feels like it counts so much also to the total leaderboard. So it could be more exciting throughout the ending. But let's go through the players here again, because I mean the top 5 is kind of unchanged. Quick, Paul, Wizzy, Granadi, and Wolsal, and then we have Massa quarter of a second behind. Then we have Patrose and Kumiko on P number 8, and then Wall, we've already talked about, moved up to P number 9 ahead of Pika. So Pika concluding the top 10. Marius cannot really pick up the pace here on this map so far.
Yeah, unfortunately for Marius, sitting in P15 in this selected server. Just as a reminder, there are multiple servers running concurrently with each other, and all the times will be aggregated in about 2 minutes and 20 seconds time when qualifying ends. And yes, indeed, Marius close to a second behind the reference time of Quick of 37.138. And just worth noting that the top 10 is all regrouped within half a second, with Razi just shy of making that sub half a second range in order to try and get up into that set top 10. Let's follow along with the man from Croatia for a little bit as he tries to go for another attempt. This is the 21st lap in his particular session, trying to get some improvements that are a bit more tangible than what he's been able to get. Unfortunately, the setup for turn 4 was not that ideal. He went way too wide and hit the outside wall, so this is going to be another attempt in the bin, and unfortunately time is ticking fast. He's not going to have that many opportunities left. I reckon at the very least 2 laps indeed, maybe just even 1 lap. I'm not even sure. 130, actually 130 if I'm, it's not even 130, it's like 120. 2 fast laps if he does not miss.
2 laps actually.
Yeah, I think it would.
Could be 2 laps, yeah.
It could be 2 laps. 118 at 39 per lap, it will be 2 laps. So he has to make those count. So 23 laps will be the most he can extract from this session.
Yeah, so let's see what Razi is able to do. Of course, has had an up and down in this year, but of course he has to be very careful to also just finish this lap just before 38 seconds have elapsed on the timer, because the time is ticking against him. But Razi had an up and down year in 2024. Of course, is also streaming every now and then. So if you want to check it out on Twitch, he is usually there. I think during the early days or early time of the days, but let's see if he can improve. Will it be enough to clock in another lap? 39 seconds left, so yes, he has one more shot. Can he make it count? No, he goes for the attack mode train here, and this is of course not faster, but showing us where to activate the attack mode. Of course, important to practice that turn as well, but he will not be improving. So let's go along the line. It is Pika who is still at the start. Wall not improving as well. Patrose also behind. Massa behind as well. Wolsal behind by the looks of it as well. Kumiko has crashed. And we have Wizzy, who is not able to finish. And I think that's it.
That should be
it. I think
it,
every
indeed.
player has ended.
Yeah, everyone is going to be just calling it a day here for qualifying. And this Kvik will be the king of this particular server with a 37.138 to the credit of the championship leader. And I wonder if that's going to be the pole time, quote unquote, when all the times will be aggregated. But nevertheless, Kvik has done a little bit of prep work and will be looking to get into the race a little bit more serenely, maybe, now that he's got the rust kind of shaken off and the game back in the fingers, so to speak. And with a 45 lap race ahead of us, there is a lot that those fingers are going to be needing to do in order just to do small corrections or even just big adjustments to try and get those braking zones perfectly. And also, of course, managing attack mode, because the exit of attack mode at turn 2 is not exactly the most trivial, because then you get sent directly into the entryway for turns number 3 and 4, which are like a left-right corner combination, which is a bit blind, but the turn 4 setup is even more blind, so you have to be very, very careful. It's all about muscle memory pretty much at this point when it comes to setting up the second half of that turn 3-4 complex, and it's very easy to mess up, as was the cement in qualifying.
Definitely.
So it will be very interesting.
And you know what's deceiving?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's very deceiving because reactor boost, of course, gives you a different braking and accelerate feeling, because you brake much more and accelerate much faster with the reactor boost attached to your car, which is initially the attack mode in this game. Reactor boost down, I think, or is it reactor boost up? Like some of them, I mean, they work very similar in this way. Not fly off if you touch something there. It just the normal reactor boost and, you know, practicing the map 15 minutes with no reactor boost attached to your car. And now going into the map, having attack mode can be a bit deceiving. And we've seen a lot of mistakes happening during attack mode, which we explain in a second. We're currently waiting for the results being fetched and then getting our Division 1, where we have 50 players racing around that track around the Berlin Tempelhof E-Prix.
All right, and whilst we wait for the top split to be generated, first of all, thank you very much for joining us. If you're joining us halfway through, you just tuned in just after a qualifying session, and the race will be starting in a few minutes' time. And if you're wondering, those tracks look pretty cool, I wonder if I can actually check those out. Make sure to check out the Formula E Club in the game itself. You'll be able to have access to the training room, where you can get acquainted to the Formula E game mode, the TMFE game mode, where you can actually get a little bit of a taste of what it's like to race with energy management, changeable weather conditions, and attack mode, just like in real life, as well as be able to check out the official track campaign, where you'll be able to run the Berlin track, as well as the brand new Sao Paulo track, which has been added last December. And last but not least, you'll be able to get yourself one of the incredible Season 25 or Season 11 skins that are slowly but surely continuing to be rolled out, with one of the latest in the calendar being Envision Racing, that have joined the fray, along with the likes of those that you can see on the screen, Maserati, Porsche, the Championship Show Car, among others. Beautifully done, and make sure to check those out. And I guess we don't really have that much time to do the Formula E news. I guess I'll just have to skip those for now, which is a little bit unfortunate, but as you can see, just 10 seconds to go before the race start. Oh man, I'm so excited. We are just gonna get right into it, Kai.
Yeah, and I mean, that means that players joined in very fast, because usually the warm-up ends if all players join the server, so the players are as exciting as we are. 2025 is kicking off here in a real manner. We have the second season going into the second race. Berlin Tempelhof is again returning. Will Quick be able to win race 2 as well? Take it over for the start, Tom.
All right, it seems as though we do have Quick and Paul on the starting grid on the front row. The tension rises. The crowd is there, ready to see all the grid come to life. And as the lights click off for the first time in 2025, the field is let loose and we are racing. Let's take a look at what's going to be going on in the start-finish straight. And we do see a couple of players, and unfortunately Tona has a very, very slow start. Let's go back to the perspective of turns 2 and 3. Quick and Granati battling with each other first and second. Tona, unfortunately, is going to be falling back down quite significantly. Granati in P3, moving away into turn 6 and 7. And look at this, he's getting caught up by Massa, his teammate, as well as Vosal and Paul. Wisi currently sitting in P2. Quick with an astonishing start, moving into turn number 9 at the moment with a great exit from the hairpin. Oh, Granati forced to release a teensy tiny bit, and he's going to be stuck in a 5-car pack from 2nd to 6th.
Yeah, what a great fight here for that second place. But look who's again one level above the rest. It is Quick, who's already leading 300ths of a second, 44-second time. But also now attack mode can be used. But we're gonna go into the explanation in a second here if players are able to collect that attack mode. There's one player who I've seen further down who has been activating that attack mode. But let's follow Granati here for the second lap as well. It seems like Quick made a small blunder here, but even bigger one, crashed the outside, and now he has been falling behind all the way down to P9, I think, if not even P10. So Quick down the line, and it is Paul now leading the race ahead of Wosal and then Pika.
Oh, but Paul slowing down dramatically. Paul slowing down dramatically in the fast complex through turns 11 and 14, allowing Wosal to take the lead of the race. But Pika in P3, clocking in the fastest lap of the race so far with a .165. We're getting very close to the qualifying times, and we've already beaten those qualifying times with Mbit 12 with a 37.071. Unfortunately for Pika, very, very slow entry to turns 3 and 4. Same for Loco, who unfortunately slowed down before turns 6 and 7. 7th place right now for Link, trying to get a little bit of an advantage over Pika. And we also do see Sibi from B2 Esports currently sitting in P10, but getting overtaken by Matsi 1221, who was the first one to actually activate attack mode among others, along with Dan Light, and thus it will be Mati taking the lead. Yeah, Lightning McQueen going fast, although I don't have the Lightning McQueen skin. He's currently switched back to a regular stadium car, and without any surprise, we are seeing the time stumble with Mbit also having activated attack mode. 34.424. Now, last time out, I think we've seen 33.4s being driven as ultimate fastest laps, and it will be very interesting to see if we get close to those barriers actually being broken.
Yeah, so you can also see now like one more variable or two variables that are taking place during the race. We have the energy level, which is just how much energy you're using throughout the track. So if you're more aggressive on your braking and then have to accelerate more, you use more energy, and you need to make sure to not use your energy throughout the entirety of the race, because else you will be going into limp mode, which means your acceleration is locked, a little bit like cruise control, just that you accelerate a little bit, just a tiny tad, but it's like 1 or 2 kilometers per second, so you really slow down a lot. So you need to make sure to keep your energy up until the end of the race. Don't have 12% left, but also make sure to have something left. And then you also have the attack mode, which we have seen Marius and Matti going through as well. You have 2 uses of that during the race, and with that you have reactor boost attached to your car, and with that your car is very responsive and accelerates much faster than normal. So it's just like in real life, you will get a lot of speed out of it, and it's literally your ace of spades, let's say like that, to shock your opponent and apply some pressure.
But it can be a little bit of a double-edged sword, because if you mess up during your attack mode and don't really take much advantage out of it, then you're going to be finding yourself in a bit of a pickle, because you're either going to have to save a little bit more energy than you would have probably bargained for, or you might be getting a little bit too antsy, and sometimes the physics can be a little bit hard to get a grip around, even in the middle of the race, because of the change of grip associated with the reactor boost upward that we have. So it can be very easy to just get the car at the wrong angle, take a little bit too much steering input, and thus slide out. And especially if you take attack mode in the rain, oh boy, be prepared for a wild ride.
And that's another variable that could occur every second during the race, that the team radio is speaking and it's like, yeah, you know what, it will be raining very soon. And then of course the car, if rain occurs, is very responsive of sliding out, so you need to make sure. It feels like a little bit like a coast. Maybe you guys are familiar with that environment from Trackmania United Forever, for example. And currently we see a lot of players who have already activated the attack, but of course now the whole field is getting bits like moved around, because Quick on P8, after a mistake that he has done in lap number 2, he has been falling behind, but then claimed position number 1 again. But of course there's a lot of players who are overtaking him due to that attack mode, which makes your car much faster. You can see it, he's on 19th position with a non-attack mode lap, and the fastest lap is 4.4 seconds faster.
Yeah, but again, it seems like we're seeing the same exact thing that we've seen a lot of the times. There are certain drivers who do believe that they prefer to brute force their way through those attack modes very early on in the race. Pretty much as soon as they're available, they decide to go for back-to-back activations, not really separated by much, trying to extract as many fast laps as possible in one sitting, and try to get themselves that out of the way in order to potentially tackle maybe weather conditions a little bit better, a bit more serene, knowing that they don't have to go through one attack mode that will be changing the physics a little bit, and that might be catching them off guard. Maybe that's trying to safeguard them from the threat of changeable weather conditions. Though so far it is looking like pretty clear skies, although we do see a few streaks from the airplanes and stuff that are flying in the background. And Quick, very much during the last few rounds, he will be focusing on trying to go for mid-race activations, because that is really what has been paying off for him.
Yeah, and now Wolsa was just going to spectate him, went for an activation of the attack mode, and he went up to P number 11 with that. Maybe we can spectate him for this remaining 1 minute and 17 seconds to just see how much he is able to catch up, because he went out from P14 to P10 from now, and look how much more speed he has than Quick. 1.2 seconds out of his lap, even though he went for a detour and was 2 seconds behind due to that activation, which of course costs you a bit of time. But 36 seconds already in their personal fastest lap, and Wosal is just catching up more and more. But of course, he has a little bit of a gap to clear to Paul, Pika, and Patrose, who already activated their attack modes. And then we see Matti, Marius, Dansky, Chris, and Razi, who have not a single attack mode left. And Patrose with that already overtaking one. And I think also in the last race we have seen Quick, who was like, he did not even have to use that last attack mode because he was so dominant in that way. So maybe he will do it this time as well, but Quick is very careful and cautious of how to use it. It seems like he's driving very surgical and with perfection, and is not letting any pressure to him.
Yeah, I feel like he's a bit more of a finer tactician compared to some of the other drivers. This is no offense, of course, to the rest of the field, which are very skilled drivers and they are right, but
he's just insane.
He's just a strategic mastermind, and yeah, when it comes to attack mode especially, he's really figured out how to get the most out of those mid-race activations and try to get the leg up on those that decide to go, you know what? I'm just gonna get those out of the way real quick. I don't want to have to deal with them later. Kvik decides, you know what? This is a strategic element. Oh, team radio. This is what we've been talking about. So Razi, Dansky, Wosa. Oh, Wosa, what's happening? Well, did he go for attack mode again?
Fun. Dude, he has seen the team radio, and then I've seen him. Oh, he has seen that, and then he steered to the right. Turn 2, not going into the turn, just going for the attack mode. And look at the trigger. Look how many players went into the attack mode. The whole thing just lights up there. That was hilarious. But that's what we're talking about. You really need to adapt in this kind of situation. And I think the attack mode will be used for all the players. And one player I really want to emphasize on here is Granadi, who has won at Berlin Tempelhof already, and what happened there? It was also a half-rainy race.
Half-rainy race, and he decides to go for his second attack mode right off the bat, while Slink completely shatters the lap records with a 33.4, and it looks like those might be the last few laps that we get with Dry running at the present moment. Wozal taking the lead with 2.6 seconds of advantage compared to Razi, and that late attack mode activation, quote-unquote, just as we got the message for Rain, might be a bit of a blessing in disguise for Wozal, because, well, he won't not be able to keep the lead just yet, as he will have Granadi bearing down on him very quickly with over 30 seconds left of attack mode compared to what Wozal has in the tank, 38 seconds there or thereabouts. But he will be in a pretty good position to try and safeguard a very, very interesting podium spot potentially in a longer run, as we're already a third of the race down.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see a 3-horse battle here between Wozal, Granadi, and Quick as well, because Quick still 10 seconds of attack mode left, but he will be going for the attack mode in the next lap as well. That is for certain here. Also, that's the turning point as well here after those two hairpin-ish turns, or just double left or right-handers, as you might call them. You have a long straight where you can accumulate more speed if you still have the attack modes attached to your car, and Quick just had 5 seconds to spare with, which is a lot, and goes for another attack mode, so he will be able to overtake probably Paul. I'm not sure about Wozal and Granadi. I'm not that sure about it, but I
don't think he will be going for the lead, but that is a very important point that you actually mentioned about the exit of turn 9. The entry into that third sector is especially important with attack mode, as you said, because with how fast you can actually rack up the laps together within attack mode, if you can actually get a very solid exit with, let's say, 5, 6, or maybe even 7 seconds remaining on the clock with attack mode, that means you can carry a lot more speed throughout the entirety of the track, and that is going to be compounding all the way through to turn number 2. So it very much is a snowballing effect that will be happening if you manage to actually get that really good exit, as we do see Kvik running up for another lap. That is an aggressive attack on turn number 9 right there, and he will be completely leaving Wozal in 4th place, and Patroza potentially in 3rd. Decides to go for a little bit of a lift actually on the setup through turns 13, 14, 15. Patroza will be left on the spot in P2. P1 is up next, 2 seconds up.
Yeah, and I think he's going to overtake Granadi here as well, but of course that's the crucial timing that comes into play now, the double right-hander into the double left-hander, and he has 10 seconds left. He will get more speed out of that turn here as well, will overtake Granadi, but look how much speed he has now. This is the bread and butter I was talking about. Quick with almost 500 speed going into the end of the lap, and now with that he's ahead and got himself a comfortable lead of roughly half a second, I think, something around that, maybe a second. So
1.6
into the lead. But Granadi setting himself up for a nice rainy race, and he was really strong with at rain. 1.6 seconds, definitely something Granadi can catch up to. And here we go. The clouds are getting darker and darker, and the first raindrops are soon hitting the ground.
Yeah, they're expected. The skies have begun to darken, as you said, and it seems as though, yeah, we got pretty much nobody left with attack mode. Von Feinstein, one of the exceptions, being having 2 attack modes left, but you can see, yeah, it's getting very, very dull out there in Tempelhof, and it turns out that the weather conditions that we had in real life are set to be repeating again in the virtual world, as rain is about to drop very, very heavily here. We can see the first little drops on the perspective of Kvik, and now expect changes in slippery conditions anytime now, in grip conditions anytime now. It's about to become very slippery and very touch and go.
Yeah, even thundery. And you know what's also now very, very important? Energy will not matter in this race at all. And you know why? Because players are just releasing, going with the flow, because you don't want to drift in this kind of situation. If you drift, you will just land in the wall. Like, that's the case. So Granadi, lap 21, almost halfway through. But look, he already caught up 0.5 of a second to Quick. What is Granadi doing to his opponent? The question is not... Okay, interesting. He even went for a drift there, but this didn't even look that slow, to be honest. Yeah, very interesting. So
it didn't look that bad. I thought for sure he was going to be losing a lot more time than he did with that particular attack. But yeah, Granadi potentially pulling in one of his better performances where he truly shines in the rain. And look at how much he's catching up to Kvik already. He's managed to narrow the gap back down to almost half a second at the start of lap number 22 in a single lap indeed. And look at the attack. Oh, he tries to go too fast. Was overzealous Quick as well. Razi in the wall as well. Where's Patroza? Patroza is attacking the second corner now. And he's going to have a prime shot of trying to claw the gap back down to within a second of the leaders. Potentially Granadi still within 1.1 of Quick, but you can see Granadi is now within sight of Patroza. Patroza's got a visual reference marker. He's got a northern light to guide him through the rainy spot here in Berlin Tempelhof, but he also has to battle with Wizzy, who made a supreme turn 9.
And Wolsile as well. Wolsile also only half a second behind, and I think we will have a dramatic ending of this race. The question also is, how long will the rain last? Will the rain last throughout the entirety of the race, or will we have maybe just 5 to 10 laps? Like, we don't know that. And also, one thing that I wanted to mention before I forget that, Mark just sent me a message today. Hello, Mark. And asked me if I'm going to cast the race. So I want to give him some screen time as well, of course, because he's a good friend of mine, right? So hello, Mark Twitch, on 34th position at the moment. Huge shout out to him. He also streams on Twitch right now. And P33 definitely not doing too bad. So greetings to you, Mark, and to your community.
All right. In the meantime, whilst we were actually busy having that, we had a new leader. Granadi has overtaken Kvik in the run up to lap 24 with half a second of advantage. Wizzy is also looking to try and bridge the gap back down. Decides to go for a little bit of a drift to try and slow down for turn number 2. Whilst we do see plenty of people kind of stranded by the wayside, the rain absolutely wreaking havoc here on that particular race here in Berlin Tempelhof. As we do see Wolsile with a great turn 6 and 7 combination. Look at how much speed he was able to carry over compared to Patroza. But now the all-important turn 9. Patroza going so wide at the exit. Not quite as wide as I was expecting, but still very decent effort. And Wolsile still managing to catch up both Wizzy and Patroza. This could be an intense battle for P3 right there.
Yeah, this could be a very, very hectic battle for that third position. But there's also one person lurking behind. Berserker getting his only podium in the second race of Berlin Tempelhof, and there was also the rain attached to the car. He's particularly good in there as well, but currently he's 12 seconds behind the leader and 7 seconds behind Wolsile, so he has a lot of catching up to do, but I think he could get some good points for the podium. And we see Patroza with a mistake as well. Wolsile overtaking Patroza for that 4th position, has much more speed here into the ending of lap 25, and right now we still have a good fight for that first position where Quick almost went into the wall. I think he had to readjust. I think he even went into the wall, so losing a bit of time there. So Quick down more than 1 second now. Granadi with that, finding himself in the lead quite comfortably, can afford a mistake, but of course not a big one that we have seen like in the second rainy lap where he completely full stopped. Thankfully, Quick did the same.
Yeah, Kvik managed to, well, still trying to salvage the situation, but right now he's still looking over a second, 1.2, 1.3 seconds out. And yeah, Patroza's mistake a little bit earlier on in lap 25 has allowed Wolsile to move through, but now we are switching back positions with Patroza managing to get back ahead of Wolsile. But the man who's standing to benefit from this is none other than Wizzy, the Englishman, currently sitting 1.9 seconds ahead of the battle for P4 between Patroza and Wolsile, and trying to get himself a little bit of a nicer standing, trying to get himself a second consecutive podium here in the season. Great approach for turns 2 and 3, as we do see one of the lapped cars unfortunately having a little bit of trouble at the exit of turn number 5. And again, very nice approaches. Does go for a little bit of a semi-Scandinavian flick, I guess, where he pitches the car at the opposite end of the corner before having the car grid back towards the the proper corner. And yeah, he managed to get the car hooked so well that he got the car through the corner, rolled in without any kind of sideways action whatsoever. So great on the part of the wheelman from England.
Yeah, like with finesse, he just oversteers to slow down. I mean, it's a great mechanic that he uses here. And with that, it looks very much controlled. 5 seconds behind. Maybe he can catch up to one or another player. But look at that, Berserker, 10 seconds behind Granadi. He definitely caught up 2 seconds in the last 2 laps.
And also,
so maybe a
Wosile
player to focus on as well. And yes, Wosile as well. Wosile down to P6 with that. He has been struggling quite a bit with the rain. Usually was Patrosa struggling during the TMFL with the race, with a rainy environment, let's say like that. But Wizzy, 4.7 seconds behind, but still in no man's land right now. So he needs to do some more catching up. But we see players making mistakes left, right, and
Berserker as
centers.
well. Berserker has crashed down on the start-finish straight. I'm suspecting either exit at turn 15 or on the start-finish straight itself. So that's going to allow Wosal to move back up into P5 and to get a gap of around 0.8 of a second. But almost immediately, Wosal is getting reeled in by Berserker through turn 6 and 7. Oh, the attack from Berserker again. I'm loving that 6 and 7 corner adjustment there from everyone involved.
Apex.
In the apex at turn 9. What on earth are you doing, Berserker? This is absolutely stellar what he's shown right now, as he's about to put a lap on one of the lap cars in Linko, who unfortunately is not really having that great of a time in that rainy race compared to last time in Sao Paulo. Granadi and Quick. What happened to Granadi and Quick? It is going to be a battle for the lead of the race. Indeed, Quick managed to completely wipe the slate clean and completely bridge the gap back down to less than half a second, 0.2 of a second thereabout. I was going to say Linko is not going to have is not having such a great time here in Berlin, whereas in Sao Paulo she was one of the leaders for 1 or 2 laps, if I was recalling correctly, was everyone was cycling through their attack modes. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to capitalize on that early front, and it looks as though that might be another race without. Let's hope that she will be able to get a little bit of a bounce back in the later rounds of the season. But in the meantime, we should continue following along with Kvik, because he gives us a little bit of a gander at his next spray, that being Granadi. Granadi is far from safe. There is 14 laps remaining still. He might have won last time out in Berlin in the rained-out race, but Kvik, the championship leader, is hungrier than ever for another title.
Yeah, maybe history is going to repeat itself here, but of course there's 600 euro on the line for first position, 300 for second, so there's a 300 euro money jump that is that first position worth right now. But it feels like Quick has found his master in Granadi, and Granadi has made a small mistake but still claimed that first position to his name. As I said, energy management does not really matter. We are more than 2/3 through of the race, and there is no end in sight of the rain ending right now. And I think that's the only thing for Quick really to capitalize or catch up to Granadi, who just looks unstoppable and denies every attack from him right now and is still leading the race, not by much, 0.04 or 3 of a second now, 0.3 of a second I mean. So it's still close, but Granadi still holding strong, driving consistent. Only a mistake can help him, but now Quick with a small blunder and loses a bit of speed.
Yeah, slowing down a little bit too much on the approach into turn number 3, which is going to be giving a little bit of room to breathe for Granadi. Back up over a second, the gap goes between first and second, and Wizzy is also going to be trying to take advantage of that somewhat to try and make it mount a challenge for P2, but he's also kind of stuck in no man's land, as you say. He's 2.8 down compared to Quick, but he has a 7-second advantage compared to the battle for P4 between Beseker and Patrosa. 2 German drivers actually duking it out against each other, whilst we also do have Wosal and World, the 2 Frenchmen, P6 and P7, separated quite significantly. Then Massa and Marius and James completing the top 10, and it feels like the sky is continuing to darken as time goes on, so the rain is definitely not ending anytime soon, and so Quick has to compose with that. And the real question with that is, who's going to be the more daring of the 2 leaders to actually go for that little bit extra, try to push that little bit more, knowing that there is a risk of sliding out and aquaplaning off the circuit and into a wall that will be crushing all hopes of victory at any point. I think this is very much the fine line that Quick has to tread, but right now he feels like he's not really close to the limit just yet. He's continuing to reel slowly but surely Granadi back in. He's got maybe a little bit extra pace, but will that actually be able to have an impact over the course of 10 laps? That's going to be the big question.
It's just so impressive to see, because Granadi just lapped Massa in lap 35. His teammate, who's on P number 8, that just shows what how good those players really are. So it is very, very cool to seeing Granadi's and Quick's pace on this map. But it seems like Granadi has made a little bit of a gap again towards Quick, has had a good 35th lap. And Quick is starting to push, but maybe he doesn't really find his way into it. And now 1.1 second behind. But of course, a mistake can just wait behind every corner if you are not careful enough. So it is Granadi still leading, and we only have a couple of laps to go. 9 laps to go after this one, and it does not seem that the rain is going to end. It would be cool to have like 5 laps without rain, but who knows. The unpredictability is also exciting now, let's say like this, because the battle for first and probably even not second and third is not over. It's far from being over.
It is far from being over, but also whilst it would be nice to have a couple of laps without rain, but as soon as the rain stops doesn't mean that the track will be dry, will be instantly dry. It will have to dry out over the course of maybe 1 or 2 laps. So even if you have the rain ending about 5 laps short from the full race distance, it's still only going to be able to push for those last vital 3 laps where you need to have enough of a gap to be able to warrant an attack, not let the gap grow too much to prevent yourself from being able to kind of strike at any opportunity whatsoever. But right now, with the thunder continuing to rumble around the track of Berlin Tempelhof and the rain continuing to pour down on the former airport, it is going to be very, very difficult. And Wizzy managing to claw some gap back compared to Quick and compared to the leader, 3.3 seconds down now compared to the leader, 1.8, 1.7, and again going for his signature approach of trying to scrub a little bit of speed on the way on the entry, just going for a little bit of a slide, almost immediately cancel just to get the proper setup for turn 2 hairpin, and then at turn 6 and 7 signature semi-Scandi flick that he's able to get on the regular, just down to a T.
Could really work.
It could really work, but he's just a tad over-consuming in terms of energy. He's right into the overuse, around 15% left, whereas Quick and Granadi have been a little bit more sparse. Quick is well into eco mode at this point, and Granadi, yeah, he's going to be finishing with probably 3 or 4% of state of charge, like me reckons.
Yeah, I think he was overusing a bit more beforehand, but the needle is still just barely on the right side, so he's overusing right now. I'm not sure if this is enough here for Wizzy to continue the race like that. 6 laps left, but I mean, the time is ticking against him, and now he's lit out, so maybe he should be a bit more conservative now and needs to make sure to get that 3rd position. So he has to adapt now, because I think it will be hard to catch up those 6 seconds, but he caught up 3 seconds during the entirety of like 5 to 10 laps, something like this. But I think this is not able to be where he cannot catch this up if Quick or Granadi will not make a mistake.
I reckon that outslide was just that step too far. He overstepped the mark, and unfortunately, that he's gonna have to get into kind of like get himself like, okay, well, that being over, I need to just get the hell out of there. I need to actually bring the car home and secure that podium, because Patrose has caught up pretty big time because of that huge stop from Wizzy. He's down to under 4 seconds of a gap, and if he continues to overuse that much, he's going to be running into lit mode a few corners from the end. And Quick with a huge crash, apparently, just as we cut back to him. That is unfortunate, and it looks as though that has been handing the race to Granadi on a silver plate just as the rain starting to subside just a teensy tiny bit, not completely stopping, and sliding out in turn 2 into the outside wall. Maybe Wizzy as well. Where's Patrose at? Patrose is way too far back down to take advantage of this, and he crushes out as well. Berserker potentially for P4. What on earth is happening here? Berserker up, potentially for a podium spot. No! Berserker! What are you doing? It's all kicking off as clear weather is now coming back. According to the race engineer, the track will be drying for the last few laps, but what on earth just happened there?
Yeah, what just happened? Because Wizzy made another mistake there as well, and there we have it. The last 5 laps will be under normal conditions, but that was an insane turn 2. All players like 3rd, 4th, 5th, and also 2nd place have crashed, and Granadi has a 10-second gap here towards his opponents, and it seems like Granadi is again winning the rainy fight here of Berlin Tempelhof. He only has 4 more laps to clear and 10 seconds of a gap. This is a beautiful dream spot for Granadi after another great performance here for him as I'm getting swapped into the free camera.
Yeah, don't worry. Just click on follow and it will be fine. 3 to go.
I thought that Granadi disconnected.
No. Otherwise, we would have seen that text on the bottom left. But 3 to go remaining for Granadi. But what was that turn of events in turn number 2? And it looks as though all the positions have been completely unaffected by this, which is kind of like the real kicker that I get out of this. Like, nobody took advantage of that whatsoever. Granadi was the only one not to put a foot wrong at any point in that final sequence just before the rain subsided.
But maybe Wizzy's also now a bit like mad about that, because remember, he was 5 seconds behind the leader of the race with his very aggressive strategy, and then he made back-to-back mistakes, I think in lap 40 and 41. So Wizzy now facing maybe even a P4 for him, because he's still overusing and he still has to tackle 2 more laps with 2.8% of energy left. It is getting very slim for Wizzy. So I think he will go into limp mode here very soon, and with that your acceleration is limited. So I think our first and second place is set in stone. Granadi has plenty of energy left, and he will be going into the last lap here, lap 45 for Granadi, and he will be winning the second race of season number 2.
We were expecting it to be a little bit crazy at Berlin with those faster speeds compared to what we had in Sao Paulo, but then the rain came in and sprinkled a little bit of magic and made this race absolutely hysterical. Wizzy down to his last percent as he enters the final lap. He's going to be losing third position for certain. Quick will be safeguarding that second place. He would have wanted to go for 3 in a row, but that is not to be. And for the second time in TMFE, Granadi, Nico Giamatti, the wheelman from Germany, is your winner at the Berlin E-Prix. Quick will be finishing a creditable second, whereas Wizzy is indeed in limp mode at the exit of turn 9. Berserker versus Patrose. Berserker overtook Patrose for 4th place. Monta to third. Patrose in limp mode, and that's going to be Berserker clinching the podium, his second podium finish in TMFE history. Great ending from the German. Patrose and Wizzy 4th and 5th, or will Wizzy finish in P5? Yes, he should be able to be close to the finish line. Wizzy in P6. World should be finishing in P7, has already finished. P8, who is a P8? Marius 89. P9 for Massa. P10 for Kurisotina. Techno music finishing as well. Well down compared to the lead lap, and my word, what were those last few laps, guy? I can't even believe it myself what just happened.
And this was the exact podium finish that we have seen on this Berlin iteration on season 1, race 2, and now season 2, race 2. It's the exact same podium. Granadi on first, then Quick on second, and Berserker. I mean, I was talking about that, but I was not thinking that Patrose and Wizzy were so low in energy in the end, and we're going into limp mode, and you could see how lethal this really is. So Berserker taking home 3rd position at 100 euro, Quick 300 euro, and Granadi 600 euro, and also valuable points for the total ranking. Then we have Wizzy, Rosal, Wall, Marius, Massa, Kurisotina, Bimi, Simon Luck, LPN, Sebi, Mati, James, Kumiko, Technoway Music, Paul, Petty Production, and Auto 05 or Auto 45 on P20.
All right, here are the standings from 21 to 40th, and then the other cars that were finishing out of the lap. And unfortunately for Tona, he was one that was struck by technical issues very early on, as we caught on camera. Very unfortunate for the Frenchman, who started with a very creditable 6th position finish during the opening round of the season in Sao Paulo. Was not able to get any kind of inroad to be able to replicate that feat and try to mount a championship challenge. We hope we will be seeing him back soon enough, of course, in the next round of the season. But my goodness, guy, like I'm still reeling from what we've seen on at the end of lap 40, well, lap 39, lap 40. Turn 2, 4 drivers back to back from 2nd to 5th, absolutely bunging up the exit like no tomorrow, and just full stop picking. I'm speechless. I'm legit speechless.
Yeah. Like, what was the matter? Did this guy already clear up and they thought it's normal driving again? Maybe the whole lighting settings just gave them a different reference point. We don't know. Maybe we get some insights to share with you on February 12th, where we have the next race happening. This time it will be a new track that you have not seen. It will be in Saudi Arabia.
Indeed, but just before, maybe someone thought that the raindrops were not real and were just basically just sweat beads forming up on the inside of their helmet. Who knows? But yeah, only time will tell. And indeed, you do mention that we are going to be having the next round on February the 12th in 4 weeks time in Saudi Arabia, and we can give you a little bit of a teaser of what's going to be coming up in this particular round. This is a little bit of a sneak peek at the Diriyah circuit for the Diriyah E-Prix happening on February the 12th, with the track of course scheduled to be a track of the day at that particular day as well. Brand new track to the series, so everybody will be going in a little bit venturing into the unknown, just like they did in Sao Paulo. But I think it will be pretty exciting because it is from if it is true to the real life track of Diriyah, it is going to be a bit of an interesting blend between some fast, some fully straight sections, along with a couple chicanes, and also very, very twisty sections that are semi-high speed, but that are going to be requiring a lot of dexterity from the drivers to be able to thread the needle.
Definitely, and I expect no rain on this map. I would be very surprised if we had a rainy race
and
on
also
this map.
Yeah,
but who knows?
Who knows? Maybe a little bit of rains, but yeah, historically in real life, I don't think there was any rain in Diriyah to begin with. And sorry to try and cut you up there, but also this is the very first race of the season that will be raced apparently from the screenshots in broad daylight. We've always been having a little bit of a sunset vibe, you know, a little bit warm and fuzzy, maybe not so warm and fuzzy, of course, today with the rain. But here we're gonna be racing under scorching hot conditions, I'm guessing in-game, of course, as we're still going to be from the comfort of our homes bringing you the action live on February the 12th. Same time, same channels everywhere, of course, be it on YouTube at the Formula E channel, on the official FIA Formula E channel, or on twitch.tv/Trackmania, the official Trackmania channel. Thank you very much for watching round 2 of Season 2 of the Trackmania FIA Formula E Championship. That's been it from us. I'm Thomas Mengozi, aka G-Geek. This has been Kyle Ludwig, aka Luckers Turbo. Much love, be kind, stay safe, and until next time, Godspeed, people.